Hello, Charlottetown. Jamie Larkin here with Marie Burge, and it's certainly a pleasure and an honor to be here today with Marie. She's a program coordinator with the Cooper Institute for 35 years now, and so for me here, just talking to Marie about the Cooper Institute has been quite a learning adventure. So I'm glad to invite you along this learning adventure, and we can find out more today about what the Cooper Institute does here in Charlottetown and PEI. So maybe Marie can tell me more about what the Cooper Institute does here.
Well, first of all, we're not just in Charlottetown. Our office happens to be in Charlottetown, but we work all across the island.
Okay.
And our goal is to identify people who really want to make significant social, economic, and political change. And our role as Cooper Institute is to support people who want to do that. So we right from the beginning, we've identified ourselves as a secondary agent of social change. And we do that because the primary agents are the people who are living in the situation. Not that none of us, we're not living outside the situation, but specific groups that they're the ones who know the direction they have to go in. So the work that we do with farmers, they're the ones who know the issue and who make the plans. We can provide support, leadership training if that's necessary. Most people in PEI don't need leadership training. Because people are really quite well prepared for social engagement. Good. That's my experience.
There's a natural born leader in a lot of islanders out there.
Yeah.
So that's food sovereignty. When I was checking out the list of issues that the Cooper Institute looks into or represents, food sovereignty was one that stuck out to me. What does food sovereignty mean?
Well, like all of the major issues that we look at it from the perspective of social justice, which is based on human and ecological rights. And so food sovereignty is a wide concept which includes how we use the land and the water, how farmers and fishers and processing workers make their living in food production and distribution. It has to do with the access that people have to food, and sometimes when they talk about food sovereignty, they only want to talk about food access, and that's what food security has come to mean. And so food security, from that perspective, access to food, safe, affordable, good food, is the right of every human being.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's the right of the ecological system not to be drained in that process.
Yes.
So, just to keep, when we look at food sovereignty and PEI, we have to take into consideration all of the politics of food. And that's a question that people are not used to. I think the city has a major role in promoting food sovereignty.
So human and ecological rights. I guess in economics we would call it sustainable economics. Often through monoculture production, for example, we drain the soil of all the nutrients, and
abuse the people who produce. Besides, that's very abusive to people who are producing food and not getting paid for the work they're doing.
Yeah, and I grew up on a farm too, and so it's people work hard on farms. Whether it's potatoes or turnips. I worked really hard to earn that bowl of soup and crackers at my uncle's place. And, he paid us minimum wage too, which is great. So we have a lot of migrant workers here in PEI, and a couple of thousand.
Yeah.
So the Cooper Institute keeps an eye on to make sure that they're being treated fairly as well.
That's the main role. just because of our general goals.
Mhm.
It's to make sure that they really have an environment
Mhm.
of justice towards them, meaning that they have to be paid as workers are paid on PEI,
Yeah.
which isn't great either.
Yeah, no.
But
Yeah, we
But
have the
not to
lowest
be
minimum
treated
wage in the
differently.
country, and I think the stats just come out with our cost of living and our minimum wage. I think the average individual is about $4,000 short per
Mhm.
year. So we need to balance that
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
And then with migrant workers are especially vulnerable because they don't have a lot of protections, especially in PEI. Not every province is the same, but in PEI there aren't great issues being dealt with, like on a policy level. I think there's goodwill in that
Mhm.
area, and we've had some good conversations with people who are responsible for policy. But it is something that the city also needs to have a voice in, because
Absolutely, yeah.
it's a whole package of that's related to housing.
Mhm.
Like we're really aware of the miserable housing that some migrant workers have had to live in.
Yeah, that's because we're in a housing crisis, and that's one of the things that sometimes we assume too much as islanders. We have these wonderful people that come here to our province to help us out with production and the harvesting, and again, and many we just don't know the conditions that they're earning their money and living conditions as well too, and that's not always the best.
And when we talk about low wages for the ordinary one of us
Mhm.
here, and trying to make a living and have a good life, migrant workers come here because they need money in their family. So they're not only getting money for their own livelihood while they're here, they're also providing livelihood for their families back in their country of origin.
Mhm.
So, but housing is a major issue, and also that just the attitude that we have in the public sector about migrant workers. If they come here and they contribute to their economy, and they do,
They
they
sure
have
do.
the right to stay here.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so they need to have access to permanent residency,
Mhm.
and of course they need access to good health care, and they don't have that by. It's not
It's not a
guaranteed
given,
them.
yeah.
So
You'd almost think they're coming here to help us out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason they're here, because we can't find enough people to fill those roles here in the islands. We have to get them to come in, and again, it's back to us assuming that they would get the same benefits that we do as islanders. But I guess we shouldn't always assume, as my boss would say. And so this is a good education for me.
Mhm.
And so the city plays an important role in making sure that everyone has equal rights, and we treat everyone equally.
yeah.
And I see on your list here too, the land and water. So that goes back to the human and ecological rights being on the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we wanted, and so did many other islanders, wanted the new Water Act to be based on rights,
Yes.
ecological rights.
Yeah.
That the water itself has a right, a
Mhm.
right to be left in sufficient quantities,
Mhm.
and to be left like unsullied by high use of chemicals and all of that. The water itself has a right.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
so when we talk about ecological rights, we're acknowledging that all parts of the ecological system has its own specific right. The
Yeah.
land has the right to be left better than
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
in the last generation. That's a right of the land, and it's not a right that's being acknowledged or honored.
Mhm. I know in 2007 when I ran in the provincial election, I campaigned on water rights. That should be protected and enhanced, and obviously through few decades of heavy chemicals, there's a large nitrate count in many areas around PEI, and so that was very disconcerting for me. And because if we don't have water, then we're in serious trouble. And living on a sandbar, and we have a limited supply of water. I went to many of the information sessions that were hosted while they were putting together the Water Act, and so nobody really knows how much water's down there. But we're starting to see now salt water start to leach into some places around PEI, and so I think on a municipal level and provincial too, we should protect and enhance the quality of our water at every opportunity, because just for, make sure it's there for future generations.
And the city of Charlottetown and also Summerside, both of those cities don't have a good name in the past in the water usage, and so Winter River is it's a shocking topic to bring up.
It is,
and
yeah.
And going now to another site looking for a new source of water it should be very frightening, and I think it is too. I think people are much more aware of that now, and the city has to give credit where credit is due. The city has encouraged people and really they've reduced the just individual use of water. I'm not sure what it's done to control the industrial use of water in the city, but at least there's an awareness that we just don't have an unlimited supply.
There's certainly greater awareness to reduce our usage of water.
Personal and household. I'm not sure that
it's there on the industrial part.
For the industrial, yeah.
And that's one of the things we have to be very aware of is again, sustainable economics. If we run out of clean drinking water in 15, 20 years, so we just have to be more aware of the limited resources that we have and protect and enhance them. The water, and again, it's essential to our survival. So so it's democracy. The democracy. How does the Cooper Institute work with democracy?
Well, actually, we made a decision about the last 10 years that everything that we do fits into the concept of democracy, and because democracy has to do with human rights and also ecological rights.
Yeah.
So, from the point of view of electoral democracy, that's a very specific one, but we see it being key to a lot of things. Areas that we're working on are policy areas, and we need governments to actually be able to represent the people. And so we have to have a form of electoral democracy, which gives people's vote a result. Every vote should count. And in the present system, it doesn't. Now, the value across the country that municipalities add to that is that, in fact, municipalities have the capacity to use proportional representation.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
And so, my expectation is that the city of Charlottetown, at some stage in the next governance, that the city of Charlottetown would come out clearly and say, we support proportional representation for the whole island. And that's a lot to ask because, as you know, a lot of people in PEI have very set notions about the current system being just fine, thank you. But I think municipalities have much more leeway in that and could use their voice much more strongly.
I think at every opportunity we should strive to improve our democracy, and that's one of the things I really enjoy about municipal politics is that it's not party affiliated. And when I go to the doors and people ask me, what party do you represent? I say, well, I don't represent any party. I represent you, the people, and so it's very liberating to say that. And I often find with party politics that the party becomes more important than the people, and then they lose perspective. The people should always come first. I believe on a municipal level that we can strive and make positive change happen that much more faster, that hopefully can spill over into the rest of PEI. I guess I would like to thank you very much. It was truly an honor to sit here on this learning adventure about the Cooper Institute.
And really great to talk with you, Jamie.
Yeah.
And I just know you're going to do really well.
Thank you.
And I hope that people also agree with me that you should be the next mayor of Charlottetown.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks.